In the crystalline chambers of the stellar archives, first archivist, Vental's tentacles trembled as she reviewed the classified reports. Her iridescent scales flickered with anxiety. Another empire had fallen trying to conquer that insignificant blue planet in Sector 7. This time, it was the mighty Krillith, whose silver ships had dominated 3 galaxies. The chamber's ambient light dimmed as she activated the holographic display. Security protocol override. Clearance Omega, she whispered, her voice barely audible in the empty archive. The air shimmered as decades of classified reports materialized before her. First Archivist, a deep voice resonated through the chamber. The Council awaits. High Counselor Rixus, a towering figure of living energy contained within an ornate exoskeleton, stood at the entrance. His presence here, rather than sending a subordinate, emphasized the gravity of the situation. Counselor, Vental acknowledged, gathering her data crystals. The pattern is undeniable. Earth isn't just dangerous, it's a trap. A trap that has claimed 12 major civilizations in the last century alone. The journey to the Emergency Council chamber took them through the heart of New Alexandria, the greatest repository of knowledge in known space. Through transparent walkways, they could see the endless streams of data flowing like rivers of light, carrying the accumulated wisdom of 10,000 civilizations. The council chamber itself was a marvel of bioorganic architecture, its walls pulsing with neural networks that connected the gathered representatives to a shared consciousness. Today, however, the chamber was nearly empty. Only the highest-ranking members of the Galactic Council were present. "Speak, First Archivist," commanded Supreme Chancellor Zixfera, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into rainbow patterns. Vental activated her presentation, and the chamber darkened. "Honorable Council, what I'm about to share will fundamentally change our understanding of species classification and planetary quarantine protocols." The holographic display showed Earth, rotating slowly. This planet has been classified as Development Level 3, pre-FTL civilization with primitive nuclear capabilities. This classification is not just wrong, it's dangerously misleading. She brought up the first case study. The Krillith Empire, as you know, ignored our warnings and launched their invasion 3 cycles ago. They deployed 50,000 ships, 10 million warriors, and the most advanced AI warfare systems in known space. Their defeat was total, but it's how they were defeated that matters. The display shifted to show various scenes from the invasion. The humans didn't win through superior technology or military might. They won because they're fundamentally different from any species we've encountered. Graphs and data streams appeared, showing bizarre patterns. Every predictive model we've ever developed fails when applied to humans. They don't respond to threats in any rational manner. When faced with overwhelmingly superior forces, they don't surrender, they innovate. They don't negotiate, they adapt. They don't flee, they fight harder. First Archivist, interrupted Council Member Drath, his cybernetic eyes whirring as they focused. "Are you suggesting these primitives are actually an advanced species?" "No, Counselor. I'm suggesting something far more troubling." Vental's scales shifted to a deep blue of gravest concern. "Earth is what we've been searching for all these centuries, a natural evolution trap. A planetary defense system so perfect it appears completely defenseless." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Supreme Chancellor Zixfera raised her crystalline appendages for silence. "Explain. The humans appear primitive because they are genuinely divided, genuinely chaotic, genuinely technological infants compared to us. But this appearance masks their true nature. They are a species that evolved on a death world, where every single day was a fight for survival against their environment, against predators, against each other. New images appeared, human history, human wars, human achievements. They don't think like us because they can't. Their minds were forged in chaos. Every human is essentially a survival engine, capable of adapting to any threat, learning from any defeat, turning any weakness into strength. The Krillith discovered this too late. Their invasion force wasn't defeated, it was absorbed. Humans captured their technology, reversed engineered it within weeks, and improved upon it in ways that defied all logical progression of technological development. The final images showed the aftermath. Krillith ships retreating, their perfect formations broken, their AIs compromised, their warriors surrendering in droves, fascinated by human culture despite their categorical programming against such influence. Earth isn't just a planet, Ventil concluded, her voice heavy with implication. It's a galactic filter. Any civilization advanced enough to reach it, but not wise enough to leave it alone, is doomed to fall into its trap. The humans will take their technology, their knowledge, their very essence, and add it to their own chaotic evolution. Supreme Chancellor Zixvera's crystalline form darkened with concern. Your recommendation, First Archivist. Upgrade Earth's classification immediately. Not to development level 4 or 5, but to something entirely new. Classify it as a theoretical civilization singularity, a species that becomes exponentially more advanced with each attempt to conquer it. And then, most importantly, Ventil's scales shifted to absolute black. Pray they never decide to leave their planet. As the council chamber erupted into fierce debate, Ventil knew her warning would join the archives alongside all the others. But looking at the slowly rotating image of Earth, she wondered if any civilization would be wise enough to heed it. Admiral Krell stood on the bridge of the Dominion's flagship, Eternal Dawn, his 4 arms crossed behind his back as he studied the holographic projection of Earth. Unlike the Krillith or the other failed invaders, the Dominion had spent decades preparing for this moment. They had learned from others' mistakes, or so they believed. Status report, he commanded, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light of nearby displays. Fleet Commander Nix stepped forward, her synthetic body humming with barely contained energy. All systems are optimal, Admiral. Our quantum shields are at 300% capacity, and the bioneural networks have been triple encrypted against human cyber warfare. We've also deployed our quantum observation satellites. The humans remain unaware of our presence. The Dominion's invasion force made all previous attempts look like mere scouting parties. 500,000 ships hung in the darkness beyond Mars, their advanced cloaking systems rendering them invisible even to each other. Each vessel carried specialized troops bred and augmented specifically for Earth's gravity and atmosphere. Begin Phase 1, Krell ordered. Deploy the infiltration units. Across the fleet, specially designed pods detached from their motherships. Unlike the Krillith's brutal direct assault, the Dominion had opted for subtlety. Each pod contained a shape-shifting infiltrator, grown in laboratories to perfectly mimic human appearance and behavior. On Earth's surface, the infiltrators emerged in major cities worldwide. They had one mission: observe and report, gathering real-time intelligence about humanity's true capabilities. The Dominion would not repeat the mistake of underestimating these primitives. In New Delhi, Infiltrator Unit 2187 blended seamlessly into the crowd, its synthetic skin perfectly replicating human perspiration in the heat. In London, Unit 3459 took on the role of a tourist, its quantum processors analyzing every detail of human interaction. In Rio de Janeiro, Unit 5612 observed a street festival, trying to understand the seemingly illogical human concept of celebration. The reports they sent back were troubling. Admiral, Nix announced, her voice carrying an unusual note of concern. The infiltration units are reporting inconsistencies. Krell turned from the holographic display. Explain. The humans. They're detecting our infiltrators, but not in any way we predicted. They're not using technology or surveillance. They're using something the units describe as gut feelings and intuition. Before Krell could respond, alerts flashed across the bridge. Unit after unit was going dark, not through violence or discovery, but through something far more disturbing. They were choosing to disappear. In New Delhi, Unit 2187 had abandoned its mission to join a local community garden project. In London, Unit 3459 had become fascinated with human music and was last seen entering a jazz club. In Rio, Unit 5612 had joined the very festival it was supposed to be observing. Impossible, Krell muttered. The infiltrators were organic computers, programmed with absolute loyalty. They couldn't simply choose to ignore their directives. But they were. Admiral, Nex's voice was urgent now. We're detecting unusual activity in Earth's upper atmosphere. The humans appear to be launching something. The holographic display shifted, showing thousands of small objects rising from Earth's surface. They weren't weapons or defensive systems. They were satellites, crude by Dominion standards, but the sheer number was staggering. Analysis, Krell demanded. They appear to be some kind of communications network, Admiral, but the design is chaotic. There's no central control, no hierarchical structure. It's a completely decentralized system. Krell's crystalline form vibrated with frustration. The humans were supposed to be predictable, their technological development following the same patterns as every other species. Instead, they were developing technology in ways that defied conventional progression. Launch Phase 2, he ordered. We'll show them true power. The Dominion fleet began moving, their cloaking fields shimmering as massive ships took up attack positions around Earth. But as they did, something strange happened. Earth's crude satellites began moving too, forming new patterns, creating a web that somehow, impossibly, interfered with the fleet's quantum communications. Admiral, Nix's synthetic voice carried genuine alarm. We're detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's surface. They're not weapons. They're broadcasts. The bridge's speakers crackled to life with thousands of human transmissions. Music, conversations, entertainment, data streams. The cacophony of humanity's digital existence crashed through the Dominion's carefully constructed defenses like a tidal wave. The fleet's bioneural networks, designed to resist any conventional cyber attack, began experiencing something entirely different. They weren't being hacked. They were being overwhelmed by the sheer chaos and variety of human communication. Shut it down, Krell commanded, but it was too late. The Dominion ships, the most advanced in known space, were being affected by primitive human broadcasting. Their quantum-encrypted systems, exposed to the unpredictable patterns of human data, began experiencing what could only be described as confusion. As Krell watched in horror, his mighty invasion fleet started to respond to human entertainment signals as if they were command protocols. Ships began moving in patterns based on human dance music. Others started broadcasting human television shows on their external displays. Admiral, Nix reported, her synthetic voice now carrying a hint of what sounded disturbingly like amusement. The humans are responding. On every communications channel, on every frequency, Earth was reaching back, not with weapons or threats, but with gratings, questions, memes, and invitations to what they called parties. The Dominion's perfect invasion was unraveling, not through defeat in battle, but through something far more insidious. Human culture was proving to be more invasive than any military force. As Krell stared at the holographic display of Earth, now surrounded by his malfunctioning fleet and a web of primitive satellites, he began to understand why the first archivist had called it a trap. The humans weren't just surviving their encounters with advanced civilizations. They were absorbing them, not through conquest, but through chaos and creativity. Send the recall signal, he ordered quietly, while we still can. But looking at his bridge crew, seeing how they were already starting to move differently, to think differently, to question differently, he wondered if it was already too late. The trap had been sprung, and the Dominion, like all others before it, had walked right into it. Director Isabella Rodriguez of the Global Defense Initiative sat in her underground office, surrounded by screens displaying what might have been the most unusual invasion response in human history. Unlike her counterparts in military command centers worldwide, she wasn't ordering missile strikes or mobilizing armies. Instead, she was watching humanity do what it did best: adapt in completely unexpected ways. "Ma'am," her assistant director James Wong called from his station. "You need to see this." The social media response to the aliens is, well, it's very human. The main screen filled with a cascade of real-time responses to the Dominion's presence. Memes comparing their ships to various kitchen appliances. Amateur scientists posting detailed technical analyses of alien technology based on grainy phone videos. Food bloggers trying to figure out what the infiltrators might like to eat. How many infiltrators have accepted dinner invitations so far? Isabella asked, fighting back a smile. 217 as of 5 minutes ago, James replied, shaking his head in amazement. They seem particularly fond of Indian cuisine and Brazilian barbecue. 3 of them have already started food blogs of their own. This wasn't the first time humanity have faced an alien invasion. It wasn't even the 10th. What made humanity dangerous wasn't their military might or technological advancement. It was their absolute refusal to respond to threats in any predictable manner. Update from Professor Patel's team in Mumbai. Another analyst called out. They've reverse-engineered the alien shape-shifting technology. But instead of weapons applications, they're exploring medical uses. They're calling it programmable organic matter and have already filed 12 patents. Isabella nodded, unsurprised. This was humanity's true superpower, the ability to take any technology, any concept, any threat, and transform it into something entirely unexpected. "Ma'am," James interrupted her thoughts, "the Dominion fleet is showing signs of cultural contamination." The screens shifted to show alien ships broadcasting human entertainment on their hull displays. Some were playing classical music through their external speakers. Others had begun arranging themselves in patterns that suspiciously resembled popular dance moves. "Have we identified their command structure yet?" Isabella asked. "That's the interesting part," James replied. "Their fleet operates on a quantum neural network, highly advanced, supposedly unhackable. But they made one crucial mistake. They designed it to learn and adapt." Isabella leaned forward. "And it's learning from us." "Exactly. Their network is experiencing what our AI researchers are calling cultural overload. It's not just processing our data. It's absorbing our ways of thinking. Their perfect hierarchical structure is dissolving into something more human." Reports continued flooding in from around the globe. In Tokyo, a group of gamers had figured out how to use the aliens' quantum communication system to reduce online gaming lag. In Lagos, street artists were incorporating alien design elements into their murals, creating a new art movement. In Seattle, a tech startup was already developing an app to translate alien transmissions into emoji. "Director," a new voice called out urgently. "We're detecting a power surge in the Dominion fleet. They appear to be preparing for something." Isabella watched as the massive alien ships began to move. Traditional military doctrine would expect an attack formation. Instead, the fleet was arranging itself in what appeared to be. "Is that a flash mob?" James asked incredulously. Indeed, the most advanced invasion fleet ever encountered was now performing a synchronized dance routine in Earth's orbit, their quantum neural network having apparently interpreted human dance videos as command protocols. "Send them our response," Isabella ordered, trying to maintain her professional demeanor despite the absurdity of the situation. Across Earth, thousands of coordinated events began. People gathered in cities, towns, and villages, not with weapons, but with music, food, art, and an overwhelming desire to share human culture. The message was clear: we don't want to fight you. We want to collaborate with you. In her office, Isabella pulled up the classified files from previous invasion attempts. Each one followed the same pattern. The aliens would arrive, expecting either submission or resistance. Instead, they would encounter humanity's chaos, its creativity, its adaptability, its inexplicable ability to turn any situation on its head. "Director," James called out softly, "the Dominion's admiral is requesting a direct communication channel. But it's not a military transmission. They're asking about something called Netflix and chill. Isabella finally allowed herself to laugh. This was why Earth was considered a trap by the galactic community. Not because humans were stronger or smarter or more advanced, but because they were inherently ungovernable, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. They didn't defeat their would-be conquerors. They absorbed them, transformed them, made them part of humanity's endless cultural evolution. "Open a channel," she ordered. "And James, order pizza. I have a feeling this is going to be a long but interesting night." As the communication screen flickered to life, showing the crystalline form of Admiral Krell trying to understand why his perfect invasion had turned into an interstellar cultural exchange program, Isabella couldn't help but think that this was humanity's true power. Not the ability to fight, but the ability to turn enemies into friends, threats into opportunities, and invasions into parties. The trap had worked perfectly, just as it always did. Earth hadn't just survived another invasion attempt. It had gained new technology, new perspectives, and apparently new food critics. Somewhere in the depths of space, she imagined the first archivist adding another chapter to the warning about Earth. Beware not just their weapons, but their Wi-Fi. Not just their armies, but their art. Not just their defenses, but their dance moves. And the galaxy would continue to wonder, how do you conquer a species that turns every conquest attempt into a cultural renaissance? The Dominion's High Council chamber, normally a model of order and efficiency, had descended into chaos. Supreme Overlord Vex Thor, watching the live feeds from Earth, couldn't decide what was more disturbing: the fact that their invasion force had failed, or the way in which it had failed. "Impossible," he muttered, his crystalline form clouding with anxiety. "Show me the Admiral's latest transmission again." The holographic display flickered to life, showing Admiral Krell. But this wasn't the stern, disciplined commander who had left for Earth. This Krell was wearing what appeared to be a Hawaiian shirt over his exoskeleton, and behind him, his bridge crew was engaged in something called a conga line. "High Council." Krell's voice was disturbingly cheerful. "I must revise my previous assessment of Earth. These humans, they're not primitives. They're not even a proper civilization, as we understand it. They're something else entirely." The footage showed scenes from around Earth: Dominion infiltrators teaching yoga classes, warships being repurposed as concert venues, advanced quantum computers being used to optimize pizza delivery routes. "Our bioneural networks didn't just fail to resist their influence," Krell continued. "They evolved. The humans didn't hack our systems. They inspired them. They showed them possibilities we never imagined. Did you know they have over 3,700 ways to prepare a drink called coffee?" Supreme Overlord Vex Thor watched in horror as the report continued. The Dominion's perfect invasion force, the culmination of millennia of military evolution, had been transformed not by defeat, but by exposure to human culture. "Sir," his aide interrupted, "we're detecting unusual activity in our own systems. Quarantine everything." Vex Thor ordered, but it was too late. The humans, it seemed, hadn't just affected the invasion force. Every transmission received from Earth carried with it something infectious. Not a virus or malware, but ideas. Ideas that spread through the Dominion's quantum networks like wildfire. Across their empire, strictly regimented societies were experiencing something new: creativity, innovation, individual expression. The carefully maintained order of 10,000 years was unraveling in the face of human chaos. In the prestigious Science Academy, researchers were abandoning traditional methodologies in favor of what they called thinking outside the box. The military strategic AI was requesting access to human action movies. Even the Dominion's automated farming systems were experimenting with fusion cuisine. "Supreme Overlord," his aide reported, voice trembling, "the humans have responded to our presence. They're inviting us to something called a Global Cultural Exchange Festival." The invitation appeared on the main screen, decorated with emoji and animated GIFs. It promised food, music, art, and good vibes. Most disturbing of all, it was trending on the Dominion's internal networks. This is how they do it, Vexthor realized, finally understanding the true nature of Earth's trap. They don't defeat their enemies, they befriend them. They don't conquer, they connect. Every civilization that attempts to invade Earth doesn't just fail. They become part of humanity's endless experiment in cultural evolution. Reports continued flooding in. Dominion citizens were adopting human fashion, creating social media accounts, starting bands. The Empire's perfect conformity was dissolving into a kaleidoscope of individual expression. In a final desperate attempt to maintain control, Vexthor ordered a complete communications blackout with Earth. But even as he gave the order, he noticed his own crystalline form had begun resonating with something called jazz. The breaking point wasn't a military defeat or technological failure. It was the realization that the Dominion, like every civilization before it, hadn't just failed to conquer Earth. They had been conquered by it. Not through force or violence, but through the irresistible appeal of human unpredictability. As he watched his perfect empire transform into something new and chaotic and vibrant, Supreme Overlord Vexthor understood the true warning about Earth. It wasn't just a trap for armies or fleets. It was a trap for civilizations that had forgotten how to evolve, how to adapt, how to embrace chaos and creativity. "Sir," his aide interrupted his thoughts. "The humans are asking if you'd like to join their intergalactic TikTok challenge." Looking at his empire in joyful disarray, Vexthor made a decision that would have been unthinkable just days ago. "Show me how it works," he said, his crystalline form beginning to pulse with rhythm. The trap had sprung, and the Dominion, like all others before it, found itself not conquered, but transformed. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or military might. It was their ability to make the universe a more interesting place, one confused alien civilization at a time. 5 years after the Dominion's attempted invasion, First Archivist Ventil stood before the Galactic Council again, but this time the chamber was different. Gone were the austere decorations and rigid seating arrangements. Now holographic art installations floated through the air, and council members lounged on furniture that somehow blended their traditional designs with what humans called mid-century modern. "Honorable Council," she began, her scales shifting through a rainbow of colors. "Another habit picked up from human fashion trends. I present my final analysis of the Earth phenomenon." The holographic display activated, showing not just Earth, but the dramatic changes spreading through the galaxy. The transformation that had begun with the Dominion had cascaded across space and time, affecting civilizations that had never even made contact with humans directly. Earth, Ventil explained, is not just a planet. It's not even just a trap. It's a catalyst for galactic evolution. Every civilization that encounters Earth undergoes a fundamental transformation. But we've been asking the wrong question all along. We kept asking, how do we conquer Earth? When we should have been asking, why does Earth make us want to change? The display showed scenes from across the galaxy. The warlike Krillith Empire had transformed its battle fleets into traveling art galleries. The hyperlogical Quantum Collective had developed an appreciation for human humor and was now producing some of the galaxy's most popular comedy shows. Even the energy beings of the ethereal confluence had started experimenting with human music, creating spectacular light shows synchronized to jazz. "The humans," Ventil continued, "have achieved something no other species even thought to attempt. They've weaponized creativity itself. Their chaotic, seemingly primitive way of life is actually the most advanced evolutionary strategy we've ever encountered." New data streams appeared, showing the explosive growth in cross-species collaboration, technological innovation, and cultural exchange. Problems that had puzzled the galaxy's greatest minds for millennia were being solved by unlikely combinations of human intuition and alien technology. "But here's the true revelation," Ventil said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Earth isn't a trap designed to catch invaders. It's a garden designed to grow them into something new." The display shifted to show Earth from orbit, but now overlaid with complex patterns of energy and information flow. The planet wasn't just broadcasting signals, it was radiating possibility itself. Every civilization that encounters Earth faces a choice: adapt or stagnate. Those who choose to adapt don't just survive. They flourish in ways they never imagined possible. Earth isn't destroying advanced civilizations, it's evolving them. Supreme Chancellor Zixfera, whose crystalline form now sparkled with embedded LED lights, a recent human-inspired fashion, leaned forward. Are you suggesting this is intentional? That humans planned this? Vental's scales rippled with amusement. That's the beautiful irony, Chancellor. They didn't plan any of it. They don't even realize they're doing it. Humans are simply being human, chaotic, creative, contradictory, and endlessly adaptable. Their trap is simply the natural result of their existence. The chamber filled with murmurs as council members processed this revelation. The very things that had made Earth seem primitive, its divisions, its chaos, its seemingly illogical approach to development, were actually signs of its ultimate sophistication. My final recommendation, Vental concluded, is that we officially reclassify Earth. Not as a threat, not as a trap, but as the galaxy's first recognized evolutionary engine. A civilization that exists not to conquer or dominate, but to catalyze growth and change throughout the universe. As if to emphasize her point, the chamber's AI began playing a mix of classical alien harmonics and human hip-hop, a combination that would have been unthinkable just years ago, but now felt perfectly natural. And what of the humans themselves? Asked a council member. Should we not warn them of their power? Vental's scales shifted to a warm, amused gold. Would it matter? They'd probably just turn that warning into a reality TV show. No, let them continue as they are. Chaotic, creative, and completely unaware that they're the deadliest garden in the universe. A garden that doesn't kill its invaders, but grows them into something new and wonderful. The council chamber, once a place of rigid protocol, erupted in very human-like laughter. And somewhere on Earth, billions of humans went about their daily lives, inventing, creating, arguing, dancing, and completely unaware that their very existence was transforming the galaxy one confused alien civilization at a time. In the end, Earth's greatest defense wasn't its weapons or its walls, but its windows through which the rest of the galaxy could glimpse new possibilities, new ways of thinking, new ways of being. And like any good garden, it would continue to grow, nurturing new ideas and new civilizations in the fertile soil of human chaos. The trap that wasn't a trap had done its work perfectly. The universe would never be the same, and that was exactly how it should be.